Hey guys, welcome to MixedGrid. Today we've got a GSX8R install of a Veridian Cruise, which is like a cruise control for your bike that operates much like you would expect a cruise control to operate. Let's get into it. All right, so in my package that I got from Veridian, they gave me an instruction how-to. It's got some pictures in here and some video links and pretty well detailed on how it works and everything. Technical lead, if I need to call him, I guess. And some stickers. We've got the module itself, which is fully encased in silicone, and then all the connections that it'll go into. And this is our controller, which has a really nice click to it. So we've got cancel, and we've got cruise set, and then we have up. And then this is actually a diagnostic connector, which you could just jump to get into. This is like service mode for your GSX8R S. I have a video on how to do it without one of these, but they include that. This is what we're going to use to tap to a brake. You could do something else if you prefer, but this is simple and easy. And then they gave us some zip ties. So that's what's included in the package. All right, so I suppose first off, we need to decide where do we want to put our switch. Now, most people are going to pick left hand because right hand has to be on the throttle, logically. So most likely we'd want it right there. So we're gonna need to move this guy a little bit inward, which shouldn't be a problem because if you look, we have enough gap there. Don't worry about the high beam switch. We have enough gap to shift left there. So we'll do that first. All right, so for this guy, we can just shift our handlebar over so we got some workspace. We need a 8mm, and we're just gonna loosen this guy right here. Like I said, 8mm. We'll crack this guy loose, and that's all you need. Just crack it loose. Try to remember your position this way because we're going to be shifting it inward. So just had to gain a little bit of space. We'll see if the Veridian will fit right there. All right, now I set it in there, and I'm kind of going to line up the cancel with the mode button because that's about where my thumb can easily hit, so I can hit up. You know what I mean? Just line it up just about there. That way I could just reach over and tap. So if you're wondering, the Veridian is tightened by a 3mm Allen. I'll get that done. So here you guys can see I tightened this down in place where I like it, and then I retorqued this up. Again, that's the 8mm 3mm Allen. So 8mm. As you can see, we shifted over and we still have clearance to fully pull in. I know it looks very close. It is actually touching ever so slightly on this first. So we could tweak that, but this will be enough clutch disengagement, honestly. So I actually fired up the bike and I made sure that this is enough clutch disengagement. I think it doesn't engage until like out here. That's where we start actually getting some engagement. So this is plenty disengagement. You don't even need to pull it all the way in. So that's been verified. Otherwise, if you guys don't like it, that's fine. Just move your clutch further towards this guy. Make sure there's no clearance issues when you pull in. It doesn't hit this on the inside, and put this guy on your outside. But I'm pretty content with this setup. You could always go to a different lever if you really dislike it. You could always tweak that. Plenty of ways to kind of get around this. So we still need to tuck our wire. And as far as tucking the wire, I would probably say we go down and we come into this wire loom. Oh, I'll try to get you guys on video there. And we just zip tie around this guy, and we'll run it along where the stock wires go down through right here into this guy so they're retained. And we'll run it down where the factory wires come in. But before we get to that far, it's really probably best that we remove our gas tank. So to remove our gas tank, pop off your rear seat. Hopefully you know how to do that. Key, turn, pop. All right, so 5mm is all this is. If you lost your stock one, I guess. Just slides back and pops up. Gains us all this beautiful access. We'll set our seat somewhere safe. All right, so we've got 4 5mm bolts. I've already taken 3 out. One here, one there. Same on the other side, one there. Let's get those all taken out. All right, we've got those 4 out. but we're not gonna do anything with those panels because I'm pretty sure we should get this guy off first. And if you look way up top here, there's 2 push pin retainers. You push in the center and then you should be able to pop those out. Don't let them fall into the bodywork. So get your hand under there, get something under there. You could tuck a towel, just so they fall in it. Do not drop those. You'll probably never get them back. All right, so like I was saying, you push in the center and then you can get your finger under this lip and pop them straight out. So this cover, we're just gonna gently slide forward to the bike and this will come straight out. So there's just 2 notches there that slide in right here. So there's no force required. Do not force it, it should just gently slide forward. Set this somewhere safe. These 2 push pins and these 2 probably 5mm Allens. Let's check real quick just so, there you go, 5mm Allens as well. All right, so I got those bolts and the push pins out. I took off 1 panel already. We need to remove this. This is actually a 4mm Allen and it is different than the other bolts. So 4mm, and on the inside right here, there's another push pin of these guys. Another one of those. So that needs to come out. I'm gonna show you how this goes in there because it's kind of off. Of course I drop it. Thank God it's not scratched. Woo! Trying to fumble a camera is fun. All right, so this goes in just like this. Oh, my Veridian Cruise wire's in the way now. You guys are catching all the bloopers in one spot, I guess. Okay, so this goes in and you'll see, like, for me to get this back in, it's kind of odd. That has to be in that under here. So we go as far forward and then we're gonna have to slide it back. Doing this with a camera in hand is not recommended. Okay, see how that notched in for me? Now this tab though is on the wrong side. So you have to nicely get your tab. So you kind of tilt this. What I did was I tilted down in the front so my tab popped out. Once the front was all loose there, that's where you're getting, this guy is still partially into this, the way it seats. I can't really easily show you guys, but you're gonna tilt down, get that front out nicely, don't break those, then slide the whole Suzuki piece forward gently. Of course, now I can't get it. There we go. Forward gently, and then you're just gonna come straight up through the handlebars. And I turned mine up kind of to center, but you could go a little right. There's a bumper there. So there's lots of things you could bust in this little section. There's 2 pop pins right there, those plastic white guys, those 2 nearest us right here and here. Those were in these, so that's why you have to like pop this out this way and down, and then slide forward and pull it on out. It's kind of odd. Take your time. If it doesn't feel right, just stop. Try to relook at my video. Hopefully it'll start making sense. So I'm just gonna give you guys some B-roll here of all the things that are going on. You got 2 push pins there. You got a lip here where that pop pin was in. So our pop pin is that black piece at the tip. Our 4mm bolt was that guy. Our 2 pop push-ins are those. And then we had our other bolt, our other bolt, our other bolt, and our other push pin. So it's a very well secured piece. If you do break this, I highly recommend you replace it immediately and don't ride full fairing bikes without all the supports. Very dangerous. Okay, now this one's fully installed still, and I'm gonna try to record it as I go. And I'm doing this one-handed, so work with me here. So this is loose up top, make sure. Bolt's gone, plastic guy's gone. We're gonna nicely work. How did I do this last time? So it's hard to do. So see this lip? I can pull it out. That's to this piece. I'm gonna pull that lip out. I'm gonna work this piece forward and down a little. Okay, I'll show you guys, hopefully. Oh, of course. So you guys can't see it, but part of my little lip piece is already out of that little sliver. See how it's poking out? There's a crack there that you can slide through. All right, so we're gonna work that piece down. And now we gotta get our 2 pop points right here. So we're gonna push those in. And I'm just nicely trying to pop a little bit of bouncy pressure because I'm doing this one-handed. But if it were you guys, you obviously could use 2 hands. And we gotta bend. See how this is kind of on the where the bolt goes in? We gotta pull that out while pushing in right here with our thumb, because we gotta get our second pop point to release. Okay, you guys saw exactly how close I was. Minor thing, I just need 2 hands. I was grabbing here, pulling out, so I can wiggle this out some to give myself that leeway to get it off that clip and get us out of there. Because like I said, remember, there's a rubber standoff right there too that's pushing on the tank, so we need a little bit of wiggle room. So you guys can do it without taking off your full fairings. If you want, go for it, take them off. It's 10 mil. And this guy is a 5 mil. This you just loosen and then it should pull straight out. And that's what secures through and holds the tank to that mount. And this guy, kind of a nice little handle here to pick up. And then we'll grab our hand right here on the back of the tank and we'll lift up. Now I highly recommend a second person because there's gonna be fuel connections under this tank that we need to take off. There'll be an electrical and probably 1 or 2 hoses depending on this bike. Those need to come off, and my God, if you break one, you're gonna need a new fuel pump, which is not cheap. So highly recommend a second person. All right, that's definitely far from our last bolts for the fuel tank, sadly. It's pretty integral to a lot of other things on an 8R. So it looks like these 2 bolts are running into the tank. So I wouldn't take that guy off because it's like a motor mount. So we're gonna take off these 2 guys. And then this one right there that's in the main fairing goes into the fuel tank on the side front. So both sides, this guy and these 2. All right, so these short black ones with the little head spot on there, those are to the side fairing one, and it does have to come off. That mounts right into the bottom of the tank right there. Take those out on both sides. Then we'll work to these 2 guys. All right, then there's 2 of these big boys on each side. The 2 I pointed to here, they're 6, I can't even see where it was, 6 millimeter Allens. They come out pretty easily. So there'll be 4 in total. All right, and that is it. That should be everything securing. We can officially lift front of our tank. We can lift the back of our tank. Again, you need a second person. Like, I really wouldn't recommend doing this on your own. And reach in here, and you gotta disconnect all those guys on the fuel pump on the bottom, way back in there. There's a white and a red connector, and I think 1 other connector. All those you'll need to disconnect so you can remove the tank and set it aside. All right, so show you guys how far I got, and I'm gonna need a second person to hold the tank probably to do the work I need. Got the electrical connector off, you can see there. Got the hose to the fuel off. Got one of the AIS hoses off, there's 2 of them. And the second one has that little metal clamp on it, and I got it off, but I can't get the hose off. Okay, I remembered a tool in my arsenal. I'm gonna show you guys this fuel tank bottom so you understand all the connections. 2 air connectors, top right, 1 fuel output right there, the big white guy, and this connector for electrical right there. Those are all your connections you're taking off. So 1, 2, this one's short. This is a really long one that goes on the bottom. And then our fuel one, which you just gotta squeeze these guys right here on the side real hard. Push in while squeezing and try to keep popping back, and finally you'll squeeze enough and pop it loose. And our fuel pump electrical. Got it off, gives us full access to everything here. The tool, this guy. Once I knew I had that metal little holder off, slid under the hose tip, pried it back, slid right off, like butter. Show you how I routed the Veridian Cruise's push control. I went underneath our brake lever here on the bottom side. It wraps up, goes into these electrical guys here. We could throw a small zip tie right here. I wrapped it around once, and then you got to get it inside this. You'll see the metal has an end point right there. See the brake in my finger? So make sure you're in here. Then we go down. You'll see all the other wires come right here. And I will probably give a little bit of slack here and zip tie it. Because remember, these flex left and right. So before you finalize anything in zip tied place, make sure there's wiggle room for everything to flex a bit. And then our wire just passes through somewhere through there. And now we can figure out where to put it all in this jumble. You'll see these guys, these white ones, look all the same. So this is actually like a pass-through, imagine. This is like a throttle pass-through. And we're gonna unplug it here. One of these is male, one's female, so they can only go one way, and we're gonna daisy them between there. I'll do that first. All right, so you'll see I've just got it daisy chained. I tucked this wire down, tucked that guy down there, and then it goes into the Veridian, and then it comes out of the Veridian into our OEM spot. All really nice connectors. All right, so before I got too far into the wiring, I wanted to see where I wanted to put this thing because I still want to access it potentially to tune it. It is tunable. So there's a USB-C port right there. I know, camera doesn't like to focus, right there. So you can actually tweak some things. So I'm thinking I'm gonna zip tie it to the horn right here. And that way I could cut the zip tie and lean this out and hook on to my USB-C to modify it. All right, the diagnostic connector, we're running that under here. We went under this guy, which has some other hoses and stuff. I went in between this guy, because it's rubber, give it a nice little buffer. Through here, we can zip tie to these guys, or we could tuck to the side underneath there, zip tie. Through here, now this one's metal. I'm not sure I totally like it, but nothing here feels sharp. So it's also got this kind of braided stuff, so it should be okay. To get it through under here, you actually have to go right here where this red guy is and squeeze it through, pass it through the center first, and then just move the wire to the side and tuck. And we're just running, and we went underneath this metal bracket into our diagnostic connector. This guy's gonna stay off. It's just a plug so it doesn't get corroded. And that's it. We're connected up. Just tuck the wire and zip tie whatever you think might rub or vibrate. So I'll definitely get some zip ties going on here. So our activation controls, wire runs along this wire. I zip tied it to the wire, not to the clutch cable. You shouldn't do it to the clutch cable because when you pull, it's gonna flex. So we just wanted something neutral, which is kind of, the electrical wire is pretty neutral. So I zip tied it right here. And then I also, and don't crank your zip ties, just snug them. You don't want to pinch and crimp wires. So there's two zip ties here holding the excess wiring, and I need to clip this one. Remember, our throttle is here, and then the purple four-way was the one to the Veridian Cruise. It's not to the bike, it's to the controls. So that was this guy. It's in a nice open area where some other connectors are all sitting here. So we can zip any of this if we're worried about chafing. Probably will zip some of this. And then we need to zip our Veridian Cruise to the horn here, bracket. Hopefully that'll be a good spot. I gotta make sure the cover can go on. Otherwise I might have to mount it in a little bit more, but that'll be okay. It won't matter either way. All right, so our brake one, let's just pop this connector off. And then you'll see there's two black wires on the bottom side. Bottom side means the opposite of the clip. One of them, it's hard to see from the bottom side because the stripe for me is visible from the top, but it is the closest black wire. There, you can see it right there. That black with a red stripe, third wire in. That is what we're gonna use the tap to do this purple brake wire. It goes in on the one side, and then the pass-through side, which is this open side closest to my thumb, that is the one that we're going to get onto that wire, put our purple wire in on this side. It only goes in the one side, there's nothing on the other. We can cover this in dielectric to make it waterproof, and we clip it shut. Once you clip it, you'll feel it click. It'll get over this ridge, and it will cut this piece. We'll squeeze into the wire loom and just create a connection that passes through. Now, a good note, so you guys know, the Veridian Cruise will not ever activate if you haven't started the bike up and at least activated the brakes once. So you have to activate brake for it to be willing to try the cruise control, so it knows that there's a active disable. All right, so you guys can see, this is how I mounted it. Kind of crossed here, but through, there's a hole actually in the Veridian to mount zip ties right there. And around this bracket, be sure not to clamp your horn wires down. Sorry, camera. So go only around the bracket. But I like the way that's holding these wires off of the, I think this is probably your fuel pump. Guessing, yeah, looks like fuel pump. Could be ABS, I guess. So it's holding those wires. I'm gonna zip tie these wires a little more, well, at all. But yeah, just really go through the bike and the wires. Very important. Everything's zip tied in. I'm happy with where this wire will be. The seat, I'd probably just be a little careful putting the seat on, because there's rubber spots that hit here. So we don't want this to be up here on accident. So if you want, I mean, just add a loose zip tie to kind of hold it down a little bit. I don't foresee it being a problem. I doubt I'll have this seat off much. Through here, zip tied here. I did zip tie to some wires here just to hold it down off this metal bracket. Yeah, these are zip tied, so they're holding away from the fuel pump here, and everything looks pretty good. This one's not a big deal, even if it did chafe. That's probably the only one I'm worried about. Not a huge deal. If it did, it would just disable the controller, not throttle wires. Throttle wires would be very important. We don't want those to rub on anything. So actually, I placed this zip tie where it would actually rub itself against that fuel pump little spot. Maybe I'll add a zip tie down here to hold everything a little bit further off. But reverse order, put everything back on. So I'm gonna put everything back on. We're gonna make sure the bike fires up and doesn't throw codes. If it does, they have something for that. Or maybe they meant if the controller throws codes. All right, so when I'm dealing with the fuel tank, I actually always set a towel on stuff so I don't scratch up paint and stuff. So that was on there while I was shifting it around, getting it in place. I've put in the 5mm rear and the front 5mm Allen, 10mm. Snug those up. Our tank's on, our connections are on. We're gonna fire up the bike, see what it does. So let's make sure we remove any tools, account for all your tools and things, make sure they're not on anything hot or anything weird. We're just gonna make sure the bike starts. Moment of truth type thing. Bump us into neutral. There you go. So, again, the Veridian won't activate unless we touch a brake once, and hopefully it's both, or not sure. Okay, so our Veridian did flash. So it does work for front, you can see. It also works for the rear. That was my hand pushing it. So it activates from either brake. That's awesome. I've heard that on some bikes it only did the rear. Maybe people used the wrong wire. So that's great. And the Veridian is activating, so we know that it's working. And it looks like it's got a green light. It's kind of hard to tell. It's on the bottom side there. It's on the back. I will say the tank I might have to take off if I want to mess with the Veridian. I'm not sure I could squeeze in there, but who knows? Maybe I got enough wiggle room to flip it. Not sure. It'd be real tight. Worst case, maybe we could just loosen this bolt and get a little wiggle room to get in there. So hopefully I don't have to get in there. Hopefully it's just good. We're mounted up. We can shift this guy around if we wanted. I'm gonna put the bike back together and go for a little test drive. I'm just gonna actually, I'm gonna leave. I don't recommend this. I'm just gonna go down the street, not even 30 miles an hour. I'm just gonna go down the little, my driveway practically, seat, and just test it and make sure it's good. And then put everything back on. All right, so I have tested it. It's awesome. It works just like normal cruise control. I will say there's one thing I already noticed. When you let off cruise control, it's kind of like right away it decels. And it, like they said, it's very simplistic programming so that there's not a whole lot of room for software glitches or errors, which is great. Simple as you can get, the better. So it does work. It activates, it deactivates with brake, it deactivates with the switch. If I wanted to hit the switch, it works great. So that's gonna be the end of this video. I just got to put my plastics back on. Hey, if this video helped you, or if you're considering a Veridian Cruise, hopefully this either helped eliminate it for you or helped solidify, yeah, I can do that. Again, this is MixedGrid. Comment, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.